If you're new around here, I have been living in Spain for just over 3 years now. I know it's not easy to navigate the logistics of moving abroad, so I wanted to share my experience with visas, bureaucratic hurdles, and how I eventually made it to Spain. Tag along for a day in my life while I give you the scoop. First time since before COVID, so we're pushing like 2 years on this thing, so. So first things first, I think it's important I share how long it took me to actually get myself abroad. I spent 5 years applying and getting rejected by jobs before I finally found a position that suited my skill set and was willing to sponsor me. This brings me to my first point about visas. Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all visa or simple answer to this question. It's highly dependent on what your family background is, what country you come from, but I wanted to share a few of the most common visas that I've come across. So if you're cool with coming for 3 months, doing a short stint, maybe a contract job, and just experiencing it, kind of immersing yourself in Spain or in Europe for about 90 days, you can come on a tourist visa. It gets a little complicated if you're trying to make money overseas. This really only works if you're coming kind of off your savings. Another option then is the work visa. There's 2 important things to note about a work visa. First is they're usually time-based. For me, at least, they were about 2 years. Most of my American friends are about the same. And the second thing being, you need a company to sponsor you. How they do that is by proving you are a highly qualified employee and they can't find someone in their own home country that can do the same job. This is where you start jumping through hoops. I'll come back to this one last because this is actually what my first visa here in Spain was. But let me tell you about the 2 other ones that I know off the top of my head. There's also a visa called a pareja de hecho. This is actually quite common when people tend to bump up against issues with work visas because they're quite difficult to get. A pareja de hecho allows you to do a civil union or a formal relationship with someone who already has residency or a passport from the country you want to continue to reside in. The catch here is that pareja de hecho doesn't actually let you work or earn money in the country. It just protects you from getting kicked out. So this would be the kind of first step to then applying for another visa that would allow you to work. The last visa I wanted to share with you was the reunited with an EU citizen visa. I'll put the name here for you in Spanish. But basically what this means is you've been reconnected with a family member who has an EU passport or residency. This can also be either, by family member we mean a relative or someone that you have a union with, say a marriage or a pareja de hecho that I mentioned before. What's especially nice about this option is instead of 2 years like a work visa, it permits you to stay for 5, and it also allows you to earn money in the country. The main point about visas is they're highly complex. You have to match your personal circumstances with the requirements of a visa to figure out which one is the best option for you. Unless you're really well versed in Spanish or legalese, it can be really difficult to do that. This brings me back to my point about the work visa. What took me 5 years to get here was that I knew I was going to need support. I needed financial support to get overseas because I was drowning in student debt and wasn't able to save as much as I would have needed to foot the bill on my own. So in addition to the sponsorship, I needed someone to help me do the relocation and the paperwork in general. The way this worked out is after 5 years of work, I was actually considered a highly qualified professional. I had skills that other people didn't have. So it was easier for us to make a case about bringing me overseas to do a job because I wasn't actually competing with skills that already existed in Spain. I was bringing something from having worked in the tech industry to a startup overseas. This made my case a lot stronger and backed up the company's need to hire me. So it was a match-match situation as far as what I was able to bring and the requirements the company would have needed to have to hire someone like me. As part of this, they matched me with a lawyer who helped walk me through the process, translate things as I needed them, clarified things, and kind of handhold me, to be fair. Honestly, I don't know how people come overseas and do the English teaching and just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. I mean, it's super brave and I give them all the credit, but that has to be an even more stressful version of what can be a pretty bureaucratic nightmare. I know this isn't an option for everybody, but I think the main point or the main takeaway from this is patience, right? So finding something that's going to be best suited for kind of what your temperament is, you know, what financial background you have, what's going to enable you to do this in a way that's going to be sustainable and realistic and not freak you out when you first move overseas. So the sun has actually come out for the day, so I was able to retire the umbrella. Next on the list of things to do is pick up some pasteles, some little treats for us, because we actually have to hit the road. So, on my way and scurrying. cool, dandy, get a job. How do you actually go about doing that? So the way I did this was investing a ton of time doing a lot of research. More specifically, I set up alerts on LinkedIn. You can do geotagged alerts that will tell you when certain companies or certain locations post jobs that are relevant to your experience. I was also super interested in the e-commerce sector. Ooh, lots of bugs. Hold on, let me relocate. So I was super interested in the e-commerce sector. And one of the ways I was able to kind of find a back door was follow a lot of fashion bloggers and see what companies they were talking about. Once I found one that seemed interesting or was doing things that I believed in, I would then kind of go to the company, check out their about page, see if they had anything posted, and find cool new opportunities that way. So besides LinkedIn alerts or looking to influencers for companies they might be partnering with or people who are already working in the industry and trying to find recommendations this way, you can also keep tabs on industry newspapers or media. Who are they talking about? Who recently got funded? Who's working within a sector that's important to you? And start keeping tabs that way. Really, it's a lot of footwork. I found that there really wasn't a shortcut to it. So if I were to summarize some of the common hurdles for this first step in looking for jobs abroad, it would be savings, help, understanding the process and how those first two things are related, finding the right companies and opportunities that you're willing to kind of jump through hoops for, or who might be able to help you along in the process, and then also just having the skills that you're going to need. So sort out kind of what your gaps are and start working toward filling those. There's a whole nother part to this. Once you have an offer, once you've accepted a job, how do you actually make this thing happen? What costs are involved? What timetables do you have to have? How do you actually get yourself from your home country to your new adoptive country? Well, stick around next time. I'll share a little bit more about what costs that I came across and how I actually made it happen. Thanks for stopping by, guys. See you next time. Stay safe. Guys, look how beautiful this sunset is. Totally worth all the pain, I'm telling you.